not? Where is? Are they ready back there? They good? They good? All right. All right, calling this regular session to order. There's nothing to report from the closed session. Mr. Coleman, would you lead us in the pledge?
Everyone please rise. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you wish to remain standing, Father Uju will lead us in today's prayer.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for all your blessings to us. As we gather today in this city hall, we humbly ask for your guidance and wisdom to deliberate on matters that affect our community. May our decisions be marked by respect, understanding, and a commitment to the common good. May we put the interests of others above our own. May we be good neighbors, recognizing your image in every person. Grant us, we pray, the strength to make decisions that will benefit our residents and build a brighter future for 29 Palms. We ask this in your name. Amen. Thank you.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Ramirez.
Here.
Councilmember Scott.
Here.
Councilmember Wright.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Mintz.
Here.
Mayor Buildering.
Here.
All present.
Like I said, closed session announcements, there is none. Changes to the agenda. Just a presentation. Right, announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on demand on the City 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. You may also live stream this meeting by going on the city's website and clicking Media Agendas link. Awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations. Number 2, presentation to the Youth Council by Senator Rosalice Ochoa Bogh. And her field rep. It's okay.
And then sorry to y'all, I don't like having my back to the audience, but you'll forgive me. Good evening, Council. Thank you so much for having me up here, and congratulations to our inaugural class of the Youth Council. I just wanted to say I am a testament to what programs like these can do for our youth. I grew up in Banning, went to college, came back, and now I'm a district representative for our state senator in my hometown, giving back, and I'm still civically engaged. So on behalf of State Senator Rosalice Ochoa Bogh, all of our constituents here in Senate District 19, and all the constituents up here in 29 Palms, I want to congratulate y'all. What you did was amazing, and it's going to help so much for your future. And even if it doesn't, it's something that you did, and it's fun, and I'm sure y'all made great memories. So I'm going to call y'all up, and as someone with a complicated name, if I butcher yours, I do deeply apologize, and I didn't do it on purpose. Okay. First, we have Truman Walsh. And then I think we're going to take a picture, so if you just want to hang out up here. Congratulations. That's for you. Next, Thomas Elkins. Jaguar Goodwin. Did I say it right? Nice. Congratulations. Judah Goodwin. Isabella Hargrove. Viviana Hermosillo. Awesome. Nice to meet you. Jax Langdon. Audrina McConville. Pearl Sullivan. William Sumption. You can clap for him anyways. And Brett Villoria. Isaac Coleman. So good to meet you. Last but not least, Tallulah Coleman. Right? That's good. Awesome. Congratulations to you all so much, and I think they want to grab a picture.
If y'all could come over here and stand right up along here, please. And then if you could get right in the middle of that. In the middle.
Good, if possible.
Do it. Yeah, go for it. Which end is he more? Okay. Perfect. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Everyone's gone. All right, next presentation by the 29 Palms Arts Guild Treasury Kathy Snodgrass, providing their final report from the Spring Arts Crafts Fury, sponsored by the City of 29 Palms Community Event Grant Program.
Thank you. This time, we had our art fair in April, and it was funded by a grant from the City of 29 Palms, which we greatly appreciate. This time, Julianne Ranieri and I took the lead in getting everything put together. We had some specific goals. One was to make sure we didn't make any mistakes, and two was to bring the kids in, and then three, to have a good time. We wanted everybody happy. So what we did was we started out, the fair was 2 days, and we realized that that really wasn't going to work for everybody if we wanted to bring the vendors in. So we offered vendors 1 day if they wanted 1 day instead of 2, and that worked very, very well. For the kids and some adults, we had 3 individuals providing instruction in art, simple instruction. Randy Ranieri was doing painting rocks. Linda Arbuckle taught people how to make things with beads, and Dana Allen stood in for me to teach basic mosaic art. Once the kids realized it was there was absolutely no stopping them. They were so excited that they just stayed there, making rocks and mosaics and everything. And I've got to say, we've got some really talented kids out there. We had the reptiles were there on Saturday. Palms and Paws came in with puppies on Sunday. And at that point, if you bring puppies, then I'm good, I'm happy. We had music as well as a food vendor. We did a raffle. We had we started selling some of the art that has been donated to us over the years. We were able to use our event tent for the first time and received many, many, many comments on how wonderful it was, especially from the vendors, because they didn't need to put up their canopies. They could just be in the tent. We had about 15 vendors. Each one was asked if they'd like to return for November for our holiday fair. All but 2 said yes. The 2 that said no, they wanted it on Sunday instead of Saturday. And our November art fair is just for 1 day. Saturday was really slow for visitors, but I understand it was slow all over the basin for some reason. I really don't understand why that was. But Sunday we got very, very, very busy, and it was people after people after people coming in. I can't fully describe to you the feeling of that. It's hard to explain if you weren't there. It was so happy and so positive, and everywhere you looked, people were having a wonderful, wonderful time. Well, and there were puppies, so I was pretty happy. The food vendor wants to come back whenever we have something else. And the art events for the kids will be a repeat too. For everything that we have, we always want to have that little bit of instruction for the kids because they really like, some of the adults do too, but it's just those kids and seeing the spark in their eyes and, oh my gosh, there's something for me here. Yeah, there is, and there always will be. As long as I'm around, there's always going to be something for the kids. So that was basically it, but it was wonderful. I'm sorry if you didn't see it or feel it, but it was just fantastic. It was everything I ever wanted to be. So, thank you.
Thank you. Council comments and reports of meetings attended. Councilwoman Ramirez.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I attended the San Bernardino County Office of Homeless Services Roundtable. I represented our district. I also went to the Southern California Authority of Governments Conference. I went to the San Bernardino City County Conference. I went to the California Cadets Military Ball. I also went to the Salute the Troops event that was put on by 29 Palms MCCS. It was a great event. Next time I'm limiting my kids to much less sugar. Met with 2 nonprofits that specialize in housing development, and then I met with multiple constituents about various topics, ranging from the current municipal code, public records request, and issues that they're facing as small business owners.
Thank you. Councilman Scott?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I went to the Historic Plaza Chalk Festival as well as the Morongo Basin Community Coalition meeting. I went to the National Day of Prayer here at Veterans Park, and I went to the International Festival at Freedom Plaza, and I just want to say thank you to Parks and Recs for putting that on. I got to attend the National Day of Prayer with Councilmember Mack, and so that was really good as well. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Wright?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the National Day of Prayer 3 times. We did twice at Veterans Park and then finished up at the Gospel Fellowship at 6:30. Very good event. Still not enough people yet, but we're going to get there. I got the whole city out there, but anyway. Do want to just say happy birthday to everybody that has a birthday in May, and also happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And I did meet with a few constituents, people, like they like to say, and it's almost time for football, Warhawks football, so we got to get ready for that. Thank you. Oh, and I did take a picture with the mayor for National Day of Prayer.
He has a very vast collection of pictures of him. He's weird. Mayor Pro Tem Mintz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the Mojave Desert Air Quality Air District meeting last Friday, and I just want to remind everybody about the LEAF program. That's where you can turn in a working gas-powered blower, lawnmower to certain places, and you pay $45 and you get a $300 stall blower, or even if anybody has a gas-powered lawnmower. So you just go to the MD website and explain everything. The closest one is Lucerne Valley. You can actually turn it into, but it's a great deal, and it gets rid of gas-powered. They give you the battery and the device both, and they're stalls. Attended the San Bernardino County Transit Authority meeting in San Bernardino. Just going over, they had a whole bunch of stuff on the meeting that some of it still isn't pertaining to us, but they are starting a committee, and hopefully I'll apply for it, is for extra money going to tourism sites like us, Yucca Valley, Joshua Tree, and Big Bear. And it's not for like the highway, it's for off-roads like Utah Trail. It needs to be, get some extra money because it's a tourist destination going up to the national park. And also attended the city-county conference, the 2-day city up there in Lake Arrowhead. And it was a lot of good speakers and a lot of good information. So that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. First, happy birthday. All the birthdays, happy belated Mother's Day to everybody. I know it's just one day of flowers, but being raised by a single mom, I know it's an everyday hassle. So to all the moms out there, greatly appreciate everything you do for the families. You're the glue in most households. I went to the CG's Leadership Luncheon on base, National Day of Prayer. I got to take a picture with Councilmember Wright. Yeah. I participated in Denim Day for the Sexual Abuse Awareness Month. Yeah, meeting with citizens, neighbors. Then I think that's about it. Chalk Fest and iFest also, and National Day of Prayer. It was good in the morning. I like the morning ones better. Yeah, so I can see what I'm reading because it's not bright and sunny and hot. That is all I got. Anything else? Last rounds? Save rounds? Nobody? We're good? All right, moving on. Consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendars are to be considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion by form listed. Any items may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately by the City Council. The public will be given an opportunity to comment on the consent calendar items prior to the City Council's actions. Council, anything? Public? All right, back to council for a motion.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
Councilmember Scott?
Aye.
Councilmember Ramirez?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mintz?
Aye.
Mayor Bildering?
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
No items removed. Public hearing, there is none. Discussion potential action items. Number 9, presentation of the preliminary 2-year general fund budget for fiscal year 2025-26 and 26-27. Ms. Abigail.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, members of this community. Oh, thank you. Okay. Thank you, Cindy. So tonight in front of you is the preliminary general fund budget for fiscal year 25-26 and 26-27. The preliminary budget presented today is only for information and review only. There's no approvals needed at this time. But I just wanted to do a quick run of our budget calendar for this 2-year budget. And as you may recall, we had 2 strategic planning workshops at the beginning of April. The first workshop, the department heads had an opportunity to provide an update on their current and future projects. And then the second workshop, the city council and community had the opportunity to share their short-term and long-term goals and vision for the city. The budget committee, which is comprised of the city's mayor, Bill Durain, Councilwoman Ramirez, city manager, and myself, met on April 22nd to review and discuss the preliminary budget in more detail. Then on May 27th, a public hearing will be held to approve the 2-year budget for the general fund. And the preliminary budget for the special revenue funds is also going to be presented on May 27. The public meeting would be held on June 10th for the approval of the special revenue funds. So here's an outline of what I'll be covering tonight. Some of the items will include the preliminary projections for the 2-year budget, revenue sources for fiscal year 25-26, departmental expenditures for each of the fiscal years, and an analysis of the sheriff's contract. As I mentioned during the strategic planning workshop that we had on April 5th, the city council had an opportunity to share their long-term visions. And so this is just a preliminary draft of some of the goals that were developed. One of the, well, there's 6 right now, but the first one is financial sustainability. I think it's, it's great to see that that's a top priority for city council, being that, our current financial condition. The second one is preserving local character. Third, improve infrastructure. 4, access to resources. 5th, local tourism. And 6th, community outreach and engagement. So the preliminary budget for fiscal year 25-26 and 26-27 include a $213,000 surplus and $77,000 surplus in each fiscal year. And this amounts do not include the council's priorities, as we don't have a defined priority set yet. So these are the revenue sources for fiscal year 25-26. As you can see, the top 4 revenues continue to be property tax in lieu of vehicle license fee at $4.7 million, property tax at $3.4 million, TOT at $1.9 million, and sales tax at $1.6 million. For departmental expenditures, in no particular order, the top expenditures by department include city administration, non-departmental, law enforcement, community services, and parks. For the next fiscal year, same thing, city administration, non-departmental, law enforcement, and community services are the top expenditures, departmental expenditures. For program revenues, as I mentioned during the strategic planning, a significant portion is being subsidized by the general fund. For animal control and community services, 88% of their program costs are being funded by the general fund. And this does not include any indirect costs such as HR, finance, city administration, IT. So that's a significant portion of the program's expenditures. So during our budget committee meeting, one of the things that we discussed was the addition of a sheriff's service specialist. And so if the preliminary budget right now doesn't include that that one in the one position, but if we were to include that position, it would reduce the surplus in fiscal year 25-26 from $213,000 to $105,000, and in fiscal year 26-27, it would actually result in a deficit of $37,000. And then also, there's going to be an increase during the second half of the fiscal year 25-26. It is my understanding that the Sheriff's Department is currently going labor negotiations with the county's various unions, so we can expect an increase during the second half of the year. And then depending on that, you know, how much of that increase, then the second year is also going to be impacted. So some of the discretionary items in this budget include additional pre-funding contributions for the city's pension of $50,000 in each fiscal year, and I'll expand on that first item in the subsequent slide. Then we also have $50,000 in community events. That is exclusive of other events such as JT55, Pioneer Days, Juneteenth event, 4th of July, Movies in the Park. They have their own a line in the budget. Then also for contributions to nonprofits, we have $50,000 in each fiscal year. For housing and homeless programs, $25,000 in each fiscal year. Grant writing services, $25,000. Crisis communication services, $16,000 in fiscal year 25-26. And $15,000 for the city's 40-year anniversary in the second year. So for, sorry, just give me 1 second. So as of June of 2023, the city's pension liability has been funded at a ratio of 88.4%. And this funded ratio is considered excellent and above average. However, the city's pension liability is expected to increase significantly over the next 5 years, which will not only reduce the funded ratio, but it would also require larger employer contributions. For instance, the required unfunded accrued liability for fiscal year 25-26 is expected to increase by 111% or $74,000 from the prior fiscal year. As I mentioned earlier, by making additional pre-funding contributions, the city will be able to control and smooth out future pension cash outflows. And these contributions are required. It's not, I mean, we have to fund our pension liability. It's out of our control, you know, and that just comes with having employees and funding their pension, their future pensions. Next. So the projected reserves for the upcoming 2 fiscal years are in line with the city's reserve policy. And assuming that the operating expenditures stay at the level that I'm presenting here at $14.4 million, the city can use up to $3.3 million in reserve before reaching that 55% threshold. However, let's keep in mind that if future operating expenditures increase, that ratio is going to decrease. So we have to think about when we have projects that we don't add fixed costs, you know, things like another building or another full-time person, like those things are fixed. And so the more you add to that, to those operating expenditures, your reserves are going to go down. So like I said, it seems, you know, $3.3 million seems like a lot, but it's really not. It doesn't get you much when you think about the long term. So some of the items are included in the budget include the cost of living adjustment for employees of 2.5% in fiscal year 25-26 and 3% in fiscal year 26-27. The city's user fee was also increased by CPI of 2.5%. And as I mentioned, the sheriff's contract is expected to increase by in the second half of the fiscal year 25-26. So I'm assuming a 4% increase for now. And then I'm also adding a 5% increase in the second year, 26-27. Liability and property insurance costs are projected to increase between 20 and 22% over the prior year. The pension unfunded liability, as I mentioned, it's projected to increase 111% in year one and 25% in year two. The finance department is also planning to have a TOT audit for hotels and BHRs in fiscal year 25-26, which would cost about $14,000. Items not included in the budget are, like I mentioned, council's strategic planning priorities, the one sheriff service specialist and related costs, costs related to the potential ballot measure in 2025, the full cost allocation plan and comprehensive user fee study, the acquisition costs and operating costs for implementing the advanced clear fleet regulations, and the general plan update. And that's all I have for tonight. And any questions?
Questions, council?
Thank you very much, Abigail. I appreciate your presentation, and I certainly appreciate the $25,000 allocation for a grant writer. I think that's huge for our community. I think that's going to be a really good investment as we start pursuing some of these opportunities in regards to infrastructure. My only concern is that the homeless fund has went down to 25,000, and I would like to see that at least at 50. We've already spent almost $50,000 this current fiscal year, and so certainly those funds are needed.
Okay.
Council, anything else? All right. Number, Cindy Bernard.
I just had a couple of questions. On strategic planning, I noticed on the calendar you have the dates when the sessions occurred, but there's no date for when strategic planning is going to be finalized. And also there's a survey that's going around right now. I would say, I'm kind of curious as to who put that survey together. It has some problems, as I had a discussion with the mayor about what I felt some of the problems were. So when is strategic planning being finalized? Is it going to be finalized before the budget is finalized? Because they're tied together, and they were 2 years ago, but now, because of the fires, I understand we have some issues, but still, they need to be tied to each other. Deadline on the survey. I was also wondering on the TOT audit, who's performing that?
So, no, you're good. So I'm still working on, I contacted HDL. We do have an evergreen agreement with them. A TOT audit was conducted in 2021 or 2022, I can't remember. But so we have an agreement with them, and working with them to see if they'll, perform that audit, or if I can find a better or a more affordable company that can do the audit for us.
Can I just ask, how is the sample determined?
It's random.
Okay, so out of a hat?
Well, they have, I can't speak exactly on what they use, what system they use, but it's, they have either Excel or some kind of analytical software that they just put the hotels and BHRs, and, it's selected randomly. But it's not going to be done by the city. That's, I want it to be more, and unbiased.
Okay,
And
so, that's important. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Council, any questions anymore?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I have one last thing regarding the budget too. I noticed that we're going to retain the $50,000 annually for the event, for the community events. And, I've made this request several times, and I'm just going to make it again tonight, that the city split those fees, or that budget, $25,000 going to Parks and Recs to bolster their programming, and another $25,000 going to the Public Arts Advisory Committee to help bolster their programming as well.
You good? Next, what? It's still up here.
I would like to add a line item of $13,500 for startup cost for the Boys and Girls Club. It's my understanding that they've already submitted a proposal and they're going to be working with Parks and Rec. So I'm not sure if that would need to go to Parks and Rec or if we just need to earmark it, but I would like that.
Yeah, so we already added a line for Boys and Girls Club projects. I can't remember exactly how much, because they had already submitted their budgets for the
Awesome.
year.
Yeah, I just
So-
got it a
so
couple
we
days ago,
do-
so I wasn't sure if it was on there or
Yeah,
not.
so we already have it in the budget. As far as allocating the $25,000, I mean, that would be something that we'll have to get direction from all the council members.
Sorry, that you mean the 25,000 request for PAC and Parks and Recs?
Yeah, I mean, PAC already has $15,000. Is that something that council wants to see increased, or, I mean, that's...
Well, certainly, I can't speak for my colleagues. I hope they will support me, but, I mean, 15,000 is very limited for PAC, I think. And if we've already got this $50,000 pot of money for events, I see no reason for me as a council member to be involved in that. I think that we should just split that money between PAC and Parks and Recs. Is that something that is okay with the rest of the council?
That's something we can decide right now, but it's a good conversation piece. I just want to clarify yours. You're saying 25 for PAC, they already get 15, so additional 10,000?
No.
Yeah.
25,000 plus their
Plus their
15,000,
15?
because we're basically just going to take from the community events grants. And another reason why I want to split these monies between PAC and Parks and Recs, Parks and Recs has got some really cool projects down the pipeline, and I really think that they are going to need that revenue to be able to pull off some of the events they want to do. I'm hearing talks of a skating rink for Pioneer Days.
I would go
So
on the,
essentially, the $50,000 would, and the community events budget, not budget, but the committee, is that gonna be dissolved then? Or, I mean, I guess maybe this is a bigger conversation.
It's a bigger conversation because not just,
Yeah.
it's,
I mean, I do want to clarify though, where it says, the totals do not include the projected costs of the following events. So there's, when we see the special fund, that's gonna tell us what's for 4th of July and the carnival. Is that for the next, budget meeting?
I can provide a breakdown of those costs in the next budget meeting, because that $50,000, that's not inclusive of those other events.
So there's already money budgeted for those?
Yes.
Not included in the 50?
Correct.
Okay, I just
So
want to
that's-
clarify that.
Yeah, that's in
because-
addition to
Okay,
all
so
of the
the-
other events, like I said.
Okay.
Pioneer Days, Rotary event.
There's already
Fourth
there's money
of
budgeted.
July,
Okay.
yes, June
I
10
ju-
event, so.
I just want to
yes.
make sure I read it right. It was, in other words, I thought maybe they needed to use some of that 50,000 out of that for these events.
No,
Okay.
that's separate, yeah.
Okay.
That $50,000 was the, 2 years, ago, that's what, the council had requested for additional.
Okay.
Yes, those monies came from the last strategic planning session, and
Correct.
myself and Councilmember Mintz sit on that event subcommittee, and I think that we would still be involved, but I feel like it's empowering to the Public Arts Advisory Committee as well as the Parks and Recreational Department, if they have a little bit more wiggle room for those events.
Okay, yeah, so I guess that would be a different conversation,
yeah, we'll have
but I'll make notes.
yes, we'll figure it out. But I see what you're saying. So it's pretty much just, if we agree, just changing that line item from events and just separate it from 25. Only thing I have about it is that gives PAC 40,000.
Essentially, yes.
That's where we have some
Yeah.
issues because
They've managed.
homeless and other stuff we got going on don't get that much money, so we got to figure it out. So we just got to figure it out. It's a good idea. So it's working. We work it. We'll figure this out. We'll
Appreciate
sit more dialogue. But just presentation, right? So
Yeah, I don't think we
Yes,
can make a
no,
decision.
we can't. That's why I'm trying to be like,
I hear you.
yeah.
Yeah, so things like this, where specific funds would have to be reallocated, yeah, I mean, I can definitely start making some notes. If there's any other requests, I can definitely add some notes. And yeah, we can also have another budget committee to just basically run over the final numbers for the final budget.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, with Mr. Scott's conversations, the budget's gonna stay the same, just it's gonna be
The reallocation of funds.
labeled and somewhere else. But
Yeah.
we're not raising it or dropping, we're just gonna stay and just change it. So we'll figure that out. as we
Yeah,
go.
so I think that's actually more of an event subcommittee decision.
All right,
Yeah, which that would be
we got
preferably.
one more public comment came in last minute. Mary J. Bean?
I just have a question. What is the survey and who sent it out and how are we supposed to get it on the strategic planning?
Can you answer that?
I sure can.
Yeah,
If,
answer that.
Ms. Mingy, if you were to go to the city website at the bottom of the main webpage, you'll see a picture of, and it says strategic plan. Click on that and it brings you right to it.
How would I know to go there? I mean, why?
We put it out over social media and we've announced it here at the city hall.
Yeah, that's a good idea. An
did it go out on our email?
blast. I mean, I try to stay up on Facebook, but I don't get to see all kinds of stuff.
Did it
And
go out on email?
Did it go out on email on the,
It did. I believe that it went out. I can check on the last newsletter, but I believe
Okay.
that we had set
well,
that
there's
out.
several of us here that never heard anything about it.
okay,
So so then the community is able to, we've allowed a window so the community could go in this evening, tomorrow, the next day. They could log on to the main page, go down to the bottom where it says strategic plan, click on that, and they'll find the survey there.
all right. Anything else for council? Any last comments? Nope.
Well, yeah, just with the funds for the reducing the funds to 25,000. So we'll have that conversation next time for the homeless funds.
You want to add it in the conversation?
Yeah, I would like to. Yeah,
Yeah, we just can't decide on that. That's all I'm trying to like
Okay.
be very,
I just want to make
Yeah.
sure that it's noted. Thank you.
yeah. Okay, thank you, Abigail.
Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. So as far as the sheriff specialist,
Like we
my recommendation would be
wait till
to
December?
wait.
Yeah.
And maybe even another year. Because that I just seen and I heard other cities, laying off people, and I don't, as finance director, I don't want to put ourselves in a position where we're bringing in more people and eventually we would have to let them go. That's, I've heard that so many times that so many other cities and, finance director warns people, warns
No.
council, hey, don't bring more people. And so I just want to make sure that is concern for.
Yes.
Abigail, I did see there was an item about, and it showed the sheriff specialist, a truck, and something else, and then it said 108,000. Was that all three of those, or is just the sheriff contract or sheriff specialist? Is
Well,
108?
with the proposal that we were presented, the specialist would need a truck and would need a radio, so.
Oh, I see. Okay, that included the truck,
Mhm.
but it included a truck because that wasn't the figure that we heard the first time. So I was just so
Right,
that'd be
it's
including a truck. But so that's a
$108,000.
one-time expenditure. The truck.
Well, no.
No.
Well, the operating costs that
Well, yeah.
come with it.
Well.
But that amount is, that specialist is gonna be using that vehicle as long as she or he is here working, so that cost is gonna.
Oh yeah,
come
maintenance
with
cost.
it.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you. Number 10, reallocation of funds to the clean up blight.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. Tonight is a presentation on the reallocation of funds that had previously been set aside for a community resource center and also a mobile shower. So as the council will recall, back in 2023, the city council voted to allocate $32,010 for a community resource center and then $15,000 for a mobile shower. Unfortunately, despite best efforts, the mobile shower could not come to fruition. It was going to be too challenging for the nonprofit who had originally expressed interest in acquiring one and operating one. Proved to be too challenging. Similarly, with a community resource center, the cost for a community resource center is quite substantial. And so those funds sat. Earlier this year, the council made the decision to allocate $10,000 of those funds to a local nonprofit named CLEP, Feed the Need. And what they did was they served the food insecure. They typically would feed about 500 to 800 people per month. They've been doing this for a number of years, and the council had elected to provide them $2,000 a month to help offset some of their costs. There was an additional request for $5,000, and that was for backpacks for low-income families for the upcoming school year. And then ultimately, there was a $1,500 donation to a local animal shelter to support really unhoused animals here within not only 29 Palms, but also Joshua Tree. So that leaves $30,510. And so what has been requested, what has been suggested is we've got a beautiful community. Unfortunately, there are a number of houses, either houses or in some cases commercial, or in some cases vacant land that have significant blight. And in order for code enforcement to go out and do an effective job, certainly they go out and address and try to secure compliance, because that's really the goal, is to get people to take care of their property, increase that pride of ownership, and increase the overall property values in the community. Unfortunately, there are situations where people have maybe lost the physical mobility and they are unable to care for their property. Here you've got fire damage, and that has been an extremely arduous process of going through who is getting it, who has control of it, are the courts involved. Ultimately, there are situations where the city needs to step in. The local car wash was a great example. They were not able to deal with the graffiti. Ultimately, the code enforcement went in there, they placed a lien against the property for the total cost of the cleanup, and then they went and had a subcontractor clean it up. So what is being proposed here this evening is to allocate the remaining funds from the shower and the community resource center, which is $30,510, and allocate that towards code enforcement and better equip them to be able to address some of these issues, to decrease the blight, to decrease the hazards that are within the community. And so right now, unfortunately, just due to the dynamics of a small community, there's not a lot of money that code enforcement has in order to effect these cleanups. In a severe situation, a cleanup of just one house can be $30,000. There was a house not very far from here. They had several hundred tires, a house, several hundred tires outside of the property. And that was about $30,000 to clean up just the outside, and that didn't address the inside. Of course, we boarded up the inside. It was a hoarder type situation. And so as you can see, the magnitude of the problem is significant, and the available funds are limited. And so it is from that there was the collective request that the city allocate the remaining $30,510 towards the shower to residential, commercial, vacant land, and homeless camp cleanup. Happy to take any questions.
Council, questions?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. Can you clarify, is this a staff recommendation or was this the budget subcommittee?
This was a budget subcommittee, and then also the staff had concurred with the budget subcommittee due to the magnitude of the problem and the limited funds to address the problem.
Thank you. And how do we choose which houses we go after first?
So that is going to be, so that is an excellent question, and that is something that the Code Enforcement Department and myself and Mr. Gardner are going to take a closer look at, and we are going to really evaluate. There's a number of factors. Do we have the ability to go on there? What is the situation of the homeowner? But then also one of the factors is, and this kind of gets maybe into the finance world, what is our return on investment? And so if we had limited funds, let's say we had $60,000, what is the most substantial impact to the community? Do we just go out and clean up 2 houses? Or can we find a number of houses, maybe 12 houses, at $5,000, where a $5,000 cleanup would have a substantial improvement? And so I think that's something that Mr. Gardner and I and the code enforcement team are going to have to take a look at on a case-by-case basis, because we have a situation where the need greatly outstrips the available funds. So we really have to think about how do we get the biggest return on our investment for the community.
Thank you. And my last question would be, so this is going to be in the next budget from, I just reviewed the preliminary 2-year budget, and it did give a line item for code enforcement for the next fiscal year. We're only 7 weeks out. Is there a pressing need why these funds can't be used for a nonprofit who can provide these services right at this moment? Like, why do we have to do this now?
Yes, sir. So, yeah, that's a strong question. And so you can see the challenge. The current general fund allocation for the fiscal year is $5,000. Clean up one house, that is a substantial problem. No, remember, we have multiple houses that are substantial problems. To clean up one house, it's 30. Now, we do have we have this fund 65, and those are some additional funds, and currently on that we have $58,000. But when we take a look at that, the situation, the totality of the circumstance, recognizing we have a number of residential homes that are in blight conditions, that are in hazardous conditions, we've got homeless encampments or abandoned homeless encampments where you've got human waste, you've got drug paraphernalia, you have unsafe conditions if kids are out playing. And so there's just this really profound need across, I like to say in real estate development, multiple food groups, residential, commercial, land, and then now, of course, we've got the encampments. And so one of the feedback that I get from code enforcement, and the fact that they are not as proactive as they could be, is when they have such limited funds to go after the problem, it makes aggressive pursuit of recalcitrant individuals difficult.
Thank you very much.
Council, anyone else? No comments? Going to the public. Right, last one. All right. Nick Foley. Sign who's last.
Hello, council. So I just want to put it out there and comment that our church, Set Free Church, when I was in Needles, California, same kind of thing was happening. All these houses were abandoned. People were squatting in them. It was just a mess. And I followed Bernie Hats around in code enforcement, and our men would go out and we would just offer our volunteer work to clean up these properties. And in that, we weren't asking for money. We just wanted to be a blessing to our community. And so our church and our men aren't asking for money to do this. We just want to be a blessing to our community. So in that, I know when you go out and you're a blessing to your community, we believe that God takes care of us, and so we want to help make our community look more beautiful. And so Set Free Church is there to help in any way we can possible with this. That's all I really got. Just want you guys to know that.
Thank you. Mary Walk, did I say that right? Walk? Yes. Okay.
Good evening. I just have some comments about the allocation of funds for the homeless. I'm a therapist here. I've been in the community for 8 years. Prior to that, I was a registered nurse. I worked at our hospital. I've worked everywhere. And I'm familiar with Set Free. They're amazing. With that being said, our homeless community could benefit greatly from having showers. That sometimes is what stands between them and getting a job. And our humans are more important than just looking at property. And if you get people off the street, you'll have less abandoned campsites for the homeless. So if you just get that problem underhand, then you're also showing your community that you love them and that they're people and they're not just homeless, you know, non-humans. So showers are a basic human need that a lot of us take for granted, and our homeless needs it. So if we can provide that for them, it would mean the world to some of them. That's all.
Thank you. Astrid Johnson.
Thank you for providing this opportunity for me to speak. As I'm listening to everything, I have like many thoughts going on. One of them is the sadness about the shower trailer, because I was there last year, I believe, when we started. I don't know, I know Jen is here today. Maybe she'll speak a little bit about what she's trying to do with using Motel 6 and providing showers in one of the rooms once a month. But if we can help allocate maybe some of the money towards a project like that in lieu of the shower trailer, then the homeless will have a place, you know, it'll be funded. Motel 6 gives us a really great deal on it too. It's not terribly expensive to provide that. So that's one thought about supporting what Jen is doing with acts of kindness. I know there's that money also. I'm still with Arch, and I get a lot of calls constantly. I call them the 211 calls, because often 211 is referring them to Arch or the word of mouth calls. And there are people here in our community that are homeless, that are becoming homeless because they can't afford their rent and they have a pay or quit. Or they have a problem with the utility bills and they can't pay the utility bills. I get this often throughout the basin, not just here in 29. I don't know what we can do about all of that, because Arch, frankly, I mean, we have so many calls that we're getting. Our funding is limited, but it's allocated. And when we get call after call after call, the people that I've just called like yesterday are kind of at the bottom of the list, but they're just as desperate as the calls that were made like 2 or 3 weeks ago that we're still trying to assist. So keep that in mind too, that the threat of becoming homeless is an ongoing issue out here. Probably the biggest issue is what I call the eviction prevention or homeless prevention cases. That's what I just described to you. It could be they can't pay their water bill, they've got a bunch of kids, they don't know what they're going to do, the water's getting shut off, or the water is already shut off. And they have utility bills, so I'm going over options with them at that point. Then there's always the cases of somebody who's trying to get into housing and they don't have enough money, and we're trying to figure out who's got the funds in the community that can help get them in if Arch no longer has enough funding to do it this time. So there's a lot going on. I'm just making you aware that, you know, I'm sorry to say that, I know Jen's going to talk about it too, that there's an ongoing issue with the homeless. I'm still hoping that Octavius's plan for a resource center comes about. I know I talked to Lori. Lori is probably going to say something that she has to find a new home for her pantry. That maybe you all need to be thinking about this resource center and then providing a home for Lori's project for the pantry. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Davis.
Thank you all. I am a resident and property owner here in 29 Palms. I'm also a member of the Morongo Basin Community Coalition, and I think you will be hearing from a couple of spokespeople for that. They are going to give you a presentation which will include a plan for shower services. The coalition has been working on this for over, probably close to a year. They were involved in the use of Motel 6 back in December. There is a plan in place to provide the mobile showers. So we would just ask you to not make a decision until you've heard their presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela Holmes? Did she leave? I saw her here earlier. Is she back there? Ms. Holmes, you back there in the back? She leave? Okay. I thought I saw her earlier. Carrie Quiche? Did I say it right?
Kish, like
Kish?
fish.
Kish, okay.
Hello, good evening. Thank you, Council, Mr. Mayor. I am speaking as an employee of Reach Out and as a member and supporter of the Morongo Basin Community Coalition. I've been working with the coalition for actually probably closer to a little over a year, about March of 2024. We started putting together a plan that included healthy cities initiatives, including looking at social determinants of health, looking at what was needed in our community. We looked at things like public spaces, lighting, sidewalks, walkable areas, all these things that contribute to well-being. And the coalition, which is made up of community members from 29 Palms and Yucca Valley, voted unanimously that what we need to work on first is mobile showers. As such, we began putting together the infrastructure and the logistics to be able to do that in a sustainable way. We did, we partnered with Community Action Partnership. We've recently signed an MOU with them to where they will provide their trailer a minimum of once per month to come up and offer these events. In addition, we've secured funding for the surrounding logistics with the trailer. However, this funding would allow us to have a more dynamic program where we can offer more supportive services. So we, like was mentioned, we're hoping to present this information to you in more detail next council meeting. We were not able to get on for this meeting, and then we saw that the reallocation was coming up, so we just wanted to bring it to you and humbly ask if you could wait to make this decision and allow us the opportunity to share what we've come up with and what we think is a very sustainable plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Quiche, have you done a presentation or talked to Yucca Valley yet?
No, I have not.
Okay. When's your plan to do that?
We are starting this program in 29 Palms, and then we'll be taking it to the other cities once it's completely up and running. We, like I say, we've been able to do the event in December. Then we needed to secure more funding, which we did, but that's still just covering the trailer and the surrounding costs with the pumping and that sort of thing. Yeah. So we have that, and we have the location secured.
Okay, thank you. Danielle Castillo.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having me here. I'm speaking on behalf of Reach Out. I'm the director that oversees the program that we're working with here in the Morongo Basin, Yucca Valley, 29 Palms, so on and so forth. So, I mean, the community has spoken, right? We have a coalition going on. They have decided this is one of the biggest issues that is surrounding and that we can make an impact, right? Because we're talking about return on investment. You know, cleaning up one house is not going to solve the issue, right? So we have to start with those social determinants of health and the preventative factors, right? Look into what could we do for maybe, 20, 30 individuals, right? Get them a shower, get them resources, set them in a good path for, being a working professional or somebody productive to society. That's going to make a difference, right? In lieu of that, there's many other factors that we're going to implement in this shower project. And as on behalf of Reach Out, right, we have the infrastructure to do that. So we've been serving communities over 50 years. We just, we have a Healthy Cities initiative in the city of Arupa Valley, which was recently incorporated, in becoming a city. And that has proven to be very successful, right? With feedback of the community, right, what the community needs. I heard a little bit earlier about strategic planning, how are we getting the feedback of the community, right? Are we collecting the surveys, you know, out in the streets, or are we just doing posting it on our website? Where are we meeting the community really where they need to be at, right? So we have the history, we have the practicality, and we really want to listen to the community, right? So we just hope that you guys do too. And I mean, the money has been standing here for the past couple of years, right? And having a backbone organization like Reach Out, a nonprofit, right, that has been successful in doing so, like, we could reassure you guys that we are going to invest the money and we're going to come up with plans, right? Have we already done so with the limited funding that we have? Maybe it's not going to be a shower, a mobile shower that we purchase, but we have to look for alternatives, right? 30,000 is not going to go a long way on purchasing a mobile unit, but it could help in setting these resources, partnering with other organizations, and strengthening the community. So just putting that out there as a backbone of Reach Out and the community coalition. So thank you.
Thank you. Janet, right? Janet Johnston? Johnston or Johnstone? Stun? All right.
Hi, I'm Janet Johnston. I live in Joshua Tree, but I'm on the board of the East Desert Regional Steering Committee, which has a region-wide view of what we're going to try and do with homelessness to help the problem. It seems like a really good idea to hear the full presentation in 2 weeks, I think it would be, that Reach Out will give. I know they're a solid organization, and as they said, they've been around for a long time now. It'd be good to hear the numbers that they actually will need. So maybe it's something where some of the funding is going towards the showers and some of it can also go towards this project. Maybe leveraging the very generous offer for the volunteer hours as well to mitigate the difference. So I think that's what I would recommend if you guys think about just maybe tabling this item for 2 weeks and hear Reach Out's presentation and the coalition's presentation, and then reevaluate how you want to reallocate this money. Thanks.
Thank you. Marissa Mullins?
Hi, good evening. My name is Marissa Mullins. I'm with Reach Out in Yucca Valley. I'm a longtime resident of 29 Palms for about 14, 15 years, and I just wanted to speak as a member of the Morongo Basin Coalition. I can just speak. I was there present in the December 18th shower event that we held with Acts of Kindness. They were a big help in facilitating this, and I can just say, just as a community member working with the unhoused populations, just the difference in what a simple shower could make. I know prior to the event, we were holding half of it at Winging It, half of it at Motel 6. A lot of the unhoused populations came in very sad and sullen and just really depressed. I spoke with a gentleman who hadn't had a shower in 6 months. I thought personally, if I hadn't had a shower in 6 months, I wouldn't know how I felt. And just seeing the difference, when he came back, he was smiles and he had clean hair, and he was so excited to have just clothing and food and to be treated like a human. And I spoke with a female as well who went through our clothing and after her shower and was modeling for us that she had new clothes for the first time in over a year, and she was excited to go back to her encampment and use the clothing as trading and bartering system for food. So I just wanted to say, I think maybe if we could humbly ask to table this conversation until we can do our presentation, it would be much appreciated, at least to my opinion, with these members. Thank you.
Thank you. Marissa, did you want to speak again later on, or just check both boxes?
Forgive me, I wasn't sure how it worked. I just did one.
Just want to make sure I don't skip you on the next one.
I
Right.
appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Cindy Bernard?
Yeah, I just want to echo what everybody's saying. Please table this. You've heard from many members of the community that there's things we can do. And I just wanted to say that what I perceive from my position writing for Desert Trumpet is it just seems like this item is indicative of a philosophical shift on the part of some city staff and some council members about how we treat our unhoused. Over the last year, we've gone from a city which takes pride in caring for its own to a city that says, let's round up our unhoused residents and ship them out somewhere else. And that's really awful. But that's what it seems like. And I hope that by tabling this and really thinking thoroughly about how to spend this money to support our unhoused residents, our fellow people that live in 29 Palms, just not inside of houses, that we can return to that better philosophical position of helping our own. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to speak later, Ms.? Okay, let's make sure I don't put it in the other pile. Ms. Jan DeFalco?
Greetings, Council. So, I know that the unhoused have been taken to the motel on numerous occasions. We did it during the Hillary flood, and we did it during the winter when it was very cold outside. On May 4th, Shane and I took 17 unhoused individuals to Motel 6. We were able to get them a shower, clean clothes, a hot meal, and a snack bag, and then we took them back to their spots. One of the problems is that Act of Kindness is not a nonprofit, so we hardly ever deal with money. But when we have some, we put them in the hotel, and Motel 6 works with us that after the showers, the individuals that are in most critical need get to stay the night in the motel, and then we just pick them up in the morning. If you have one shower, one day, in 1 month, you will remain dirty for 29 days, unless it's a leap year. The showers are great, and I commend Reach Out for that, but we need a better solution besides just showers, unless the showers are going to be more frequent. Because we help them get a shower, we help them get clean clothes, they go look for a job, but then they don't shower for another couple weeks. The job's not going to keep them. Now, I've listened to the proposed that was brought up about commercial property, residential property needing to be fixed. So there was 2 other topics in there, which was empty land and homeless encampments. I find this very repetitive. You go in there, you clean the properties, and in a couple weeks, if the unhoused are not taken care of, they're right back at the properties. The properties are being destroyed again. Then you go back and you clean again such areas, and then the unhoused comes back. We need a plan to where we can help our unhoused individuals better than what we're doing, so that they don't have to keep going to abandoned buildings, and don't have to go to properties, and they don't have to go to the bathroom outside, and they don't go for a month without showering. We need more solution. These houses that need to be fixed, and I see dozens of empty abandoned buildings. How about talking to some of our contractors in 29 and our citizens, see if we can get those abandoned houses cleaned up, then fixed. Then we could put families in them. You know, instead of just cleaning up the mess, waiting for the mess to come back. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. DeFalco, do you plan on talking again? Yes. Okay. Carlos Blandon?
Hi, Carlos Blandon. Fun fact, I've been displaced many times. Lived in people's bushes. That's how I got immune to black widow bites. So my story's a little impromptu. That's why I say the things we're having these days is a little different. The behaviors of what we see is odd than those, because, you know, homeless and a hobo is completely different. A hobo is willing to travel and work. Cleaning these homes and these blight will also bring opportunity for other housing opportunities to put people who want to work and live in these communities and actually improve our city. And also, or bring up more development on these vacant lands if we actually clean up our town a little bit better, and thus bring more opportunity to help others who are in need. For facilities for these folks, or housing, we already have them. I don't know why we don't do it like the good old days. The churches are here. They don't open their doors anymore. They have facilities to help, but I don't see them bringing them in anymore. So to stop reoccurring these abatements of people coming back in after we clean them, we need to fund code enforcement so it can stop being, how you say, reactive and being more proactive. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, back up here, council, close to the public. Back up here to public.
Thank you very much,
Councilwoman.
Mr. Mayor. And thank everyone for their words today. I especially want to thank one of our churches here today, Set Free, who does have a program that they bring in people to. And they've been doing a lot of great work in the city of 29 Palms, along with a lot of our other faith-based organizations. I think that, you know, it's very important that we clean up these blighted properties. But when you have people who have not showered, you know, it's demoralizing, but it's also a public health issue. You have people that could potentially be spreading germs, diseases, and people get sick. Showers are quite important. And so, you know, I just have one question. At the next council meeting, this is going to be Yucca Valley's, Reach Out Yucca Valley is going to present for those funds, Dr. Stone James?
No, that has not been the. So I do believe we are working on getting Reach Out Yucca Valley to give a presentation to the East Desert Regional Steering Committee, which is the Morongo Basin-wide homeless services, homeless outreach organization that serves the whole basin. They are working on receiving 2 grants, HAP grants, and so that's going to anticipated to be several $100,000. And so my hope is that as co-chair, that we're going to be able to have Reach Out Yucca Valley. Am I done? Reach Out Yucca Valley give a presentation to that organization so that we can utilize the hundreds of thousands of dollars in a way that would, you know, create it sounds like a much needed resource, a resource that could be circulated throughout the basin. In terms of specifically our city, we would need to take a vote tonight to add this to a future agenda item.
Sure. Am I allowed to make that motion today? Right now? No? Okay. And so I would like to make a motion to table this topic.
Council, anyone else? Comments?
I have comments, yes.
Okay.
So I also sit on the San Bernardino County East Desert Regional Steering Committee as a board member with Ms. Johnston. And homelessness is never going to be a one-size-fits-all solution, but I'm a little bit concerned. So I met with Reach Out Yucca Valley, I believe on April 22nd, and I also had the time to meet with one of their medical directors, and I believe that the work that they're doing in the community is phenomenal. I was honest, open, very vulnerable about my personal story. At that meeting, there was no mention of showers. So I want to know what happened between April 22nd and today, that now there's this pressing matter to reallocate these funds. Not only that, I heard many times, you know, the Morongo Basin Community Coalition, it has members from Yucca Valley, Joshua Tree, 29 Palms, and they're trying to do a basin-wide, is that correct? This would be for the entire basin, not just 29 Palms?
Right now it's just for 29 Palms.
But eventually the goal is the entire basin, correct?
The Healthy Cities Initiative is basin-wide.
Okay. So with that being said, at the last East Desert Regional Steering Committee meeting, we did make notice that there's an organization that's not going to be accepting the HAP grant funding that was sent to them, and so that's $94,000 that's going to be redistributed. All you have to do is put in the application for that, and then we also have the HAP grant, HAP 5 grant funding coming from the county too. I'd like to reference a headline that came from the county, this was on November 6, 2024, it's a San Bernardino County announced $11.82 million in grant money to boost homeless shelters and housing capacity. So that is coming to our region, not the entire 11.82 million, but in the past, let's just talk about the types of funding that some of our local organizations have received. HAP 1 grant funding to our area specifically was $265,497. HAP 2 grant funding was $131,000. HAP 3 grant funding was $162,725. HAP 4 granting, also again with the $94,000 that is going to be redistributed, but $98,524.29 was distributed for a grand total of $657,840.29. That's a lot of money. There is still more money that is coming from the county, and I'm kind of at a crossroads, because at the same time, while I'm saying that there is still money and there's funding and there's an additional $94,000, I don't know why the $30,000 that we have here is important, suddenly of importance within the past 2 weeks. Then I'm going to go ahead, and my other problem is that since January, I've been receiving letters and emails from multiple small business owners. I'm just going to read one real quick. I'm having trouble with some of the homeless people, again, speaking about the encampments. At Cold Stone Creamery, there are homeless people sleeping in front of my business, both during the night and mornings, even when my business is open. They are openly urinating and pooping on my property. They are doing this on the south side between 7-Eleven and my building. They are also doing it in the front sidewalk and on the parking stalls. I invite you to step onto my property. You will see it and smell it. Not only that, there's tons of trash every single day all over the property. It is absolutely not my responsibility or my employee's responsibility to be cleaning up bodily fluids like this. We shouldn't be subjected to this, yet we are. There is a woman who during the daylight will pull her pants down and urinate on the wall in the building. I've asked for help from the city before, as well as the sheriff's department, and mostly no action has been taken. We've asked them to leave, and they don't listen and often threaten us. Sometimes they will leave, but then they come back. This is affecting my sales drastically. My sales drop, and so do my sales tax that I take in. That in turn lowers what we pay to the city in sales revenue. Panhandling is also an issue at AM PM. Oftentimes there are also 2 at 7-Eleven, sometimes up to 15 at a time just between the 2 businesses, loitering at the doors, which many customers don't feel safe getting out of their cars and will just leave. We've asked them to leave and not come back. Calling the police doesn't do anything because they just keep returning. And then I have another one. This one's really long, but it just says I wanted to, a few weeks later, I wanted to update you. I keep calling the sheriff's department because they keep unhooking my lights in the building. These lights are very expensive. I just had to replace them all week. They're also on my parking lot. Just so many things from so many businesses that if we do an homeless encampment cleanup or rehabilitation, if you will, I want to make sure that, number one, we're meeting both people. We're meeting both the small business owners, but we're also treating our unhoused community with dignity and respect and offering resources in real time. And so, there's organizations like Pastor Nick Foley, Molding Hearts, Morongo Basin Arch, all things. I had a conversation at the city council conference for San Bernardino County with Sheriff Dykes himself. And we talked about, what are other cities doing to get the resources out there, whether it's the HOPE team or whether it's, law enforcement having a trained licensed mental health professional with them. The idea is to not just clean it up and ship people off. The idea is to, in real time, offer compassion, but also be able to be understanding of our small business owners who are also struggling with this issue. I think on that slideshow there was a picture of the post office. That happened from one of the I believe I was reported to that it was some members from a homeless encampment that threw a rock at the post office. And so I think that if we had, mental health professionals and resources and a multidisciplinary team when we do this, if we do this, it's going to be very important to me that we're servicing both our small business owners and our unhoused community. Because this 30,000, again, like I said, I mean, let's look at how much money some of the organizations in this building have received today. $657,840.29. What is $30,000 going to do now?
Well, I think that's a great question, Councilwoman. I just want to gain a little bit of clarity here. When you say this cleanup, what exactly are you referring to?
What we're talking about, the reallocation of,
So
what'd you call it, blight?
Yes, ma'am. So I could speak to that if the council would appreciate that. So what we're talking about is, so when we talk about treating the unhoused population with dignity and respect, that has and continues to occur. The Sheriff's Department has done, I think, a remarkable job of having a very responsive and engaged team that goes out and interacts with the unhoused population and is constantly offering them services. We've had discussions with our code enforcement department that when they go out and they interact with the unhoused population, that they are constantly offering them services. We've also, as the council, has elected to engage Molding Hearts, where they go out and they interact with the unhoused population. And they are offering them an ability to come off of the streets and live in housing, stable housing, for a year, and with 3 meals a day and 2 snacks a day, and all of the things that would require to get you from unhoused, living in a tent, to a productive member of society. So I think it's important that the community understands that treating the unhoused population with dignity and respect is absolutely a council priority, and that is being acted upon by the individuals who interact with our populations. In terms of this cleanup, these cleanup dollars, when a homeless encampment is abandoned, all of the trash, all of the debris, all of the human waste, any of the drug paraphernalia, it's all left there. And so it's left there for birds to pick up, or desert animals, or what I fear, kids running through the desert. And so those funds would be used to clean up these abandoned encampments, to clean up blighted properties. I was really candidly aghast when I went out and there was that one fire damaged house, and that had been like that for quite some time. And when we say it's just one house, that one house affects everyone on that street who drives by it every single day. And so what I hope can occur with the East Desert Regional Steering Committee, and that is a committee of probably 30 people that attend those meetings, and I think 30 committed, capable, caring individuals who really want to affect change. And so it is my hope that with the hundreds of thousands of dollars, certainly tens of thousands, that are coming into that committee, that as a committee we can work with all of the resource partners. Reach Out Yucca is part of that. Janice Johnston is a wonderful member of that team. Each of the homeless services providers are a part of that. We can take those hundreds of thousands of dollars of funds and have an impact on the unhoused. Unfortunately, as a city, we have to clean up from the effects of unhoused, but we're not getting money from the East Desert Regional Steering Committee. Mm-hmm. We have to pull that from somewhere else. Either that, or we just have to force our residents to live with it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I just think, and this is the reason why I'm asking for this to be tabled. Everything that has come out of this pot of money so far, there's been precedence. That precedence is that these funds are for resources. We've given out money for food. That's resources. We've given out money for school supplies. That's resources. But I don't see the connection here, how this is a resource, like to the unhoused. While this is important, and I have talked to the postmaster, I've had a conversation with her, in the neighborhood cleanup that I'm personally leading, as a private citizen, I have reached out to providers. I've reached out to Yucca Valley mental health providers to also provide outreach that day. I've reached out to Pastor Nick Foley from Set Free to also show up that day. And we're doing this with, with just donations and our own private time. I just think that we should give an opportunity to hear this proposal from Reach Out Yucca before we go ahead and make this. I'm not completely against it. I just want to give an opportunity for this nonprofit to be heard.
Well, that is true. But this money's been sitting there since 2023. The shower unit might not even cost $15,000. Right? We don't even know what their proposal is. So if we reallocate this, it could be used. It could be start right away. We're already budgeting for next year on it's two items on there. One's for nonprofit and for $50,000, and one's for $25,000 for homelessness. So we've already almost allocated $75,000 that come next fiscal budget, it could be allocated if we like the program. We don't even know what the program is. We don't know what it is. We already know what code enforcement can actually start doing now with the monies that we've allocated since 2023. So I'm okay with it, and I'm certainly not. Trust me, I have a small business in 29 Palms. I have homelessness there every day. I treat them like human beings. They get to use my restrooms. I don't kick them out of there. The only ones I do is if they hassle my customers. So for someone to say that I've changed my way of handling homelessness, then you don't see me every single day in my business with my employees. So as far as reallocating this, I don't think we're leaving anybody out. I mean, because we're only talking from now until July 1st that money could be, that if the program is good, then July 1st, we could hear them again as far as budgeted again. But right now, we can actually use this $30,000 and get started on something. So that's where I'm at with that.
Can I just add a comment? So in my presentation, I forgot to mention something, but recognizing our financial position and, our potential deficit in upcoming fiscal years, when I met with all department heads, they were all, cognizant of that. They realize how this can impact our future generations. And so one of the things that and that was across the board, how can I save the city funds? How can I reduce? Our budget is already very tight with the resources that we have, with the programs that we're providing. They were all trying to find ways to reduce their budget and continue to offer the same amount of services that they currently have with even less resources than that they currently have. And so we do have money allocated for nonprofits, $50,000. We've had that for many, many years. We have, for community events. So there's many programs that that the city is funding that I just don't see other cities doing. I think the city is doing a lot of great things, and and supporting the community. And so I just wanted you to be aware of that your department heads, they recognize what's happening and what they're doing to reduce their costs. So as I mentioned during the strategic plan, I hope that council implements goals and priorities that lead to long-term sustainability. Who's supporting the city? We're not getting money, lots of money from the federal government. They're actually clawing back a lot of their resources that they were providing in the past. So, I'm trying to think about, what's us in light of the strategic planning and your goals for the next 20 years. What's the goal of the city? Are we a nonprofit organization, or are we a city to provide services for the community as a whole? So I just want you to know what your departments are doing to help. And essentially, if we continue this route, what's going to happen? You're going to be forced to either lay off people, or you're going to force to increase taxes, increase user fees. again, who's supporting the city? Who, I mean, I don't see the federal government jumping to give us millions of dollars. So just want, again, just, you know, from a financial perspective, that's my professional opinion.
Thank you.
If I could answer a couple of questions too. A question was raised about why now. Well, it's been sitting on the future initiated items list for 2 years. And I think that goes to a bigger problem that we have with our city. Council members make these makes these proposals so that we can redistribute these funds, and government moves slow. I mean, it's been there. It's not something that came out of the blue. It's been a future initiated item for almost 2 years. And you know, as somebody who made that motion, I certainly have been trying to find people that could help fill that void. That's part of the job, I think. So I just wanted to add some clarity about why now.
Go ahead.
My turn. I make a motion that the city council approve reallocation the remaining $30,510 of navigation and resource center and shower funds to residential, commercial, vacant lands, and homeless camp cleanup.
I'll second.
Councilwoman Ramirez?
Aye.
Councilmember Scott?
Nay.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Mintz?
Aye.
Mayor Bilderrain?
When's that meeting for the desert? That be Thursday? So we'll know. All right. All right. Aye.
Approved 4-1.
Number 10 or number 11 has been pulled. Future council initiating items. Any?
No, I just like to move to the future initiated items list. Sometimes they wait there for years.
I thought you wanted them to speak. You have to make the motion for them to speak.
I thought he was speaking. I thought he told me they're speaking at the East Desert. Also, but on our agenda, you want them to. I'd like to make a motion to have Reach Out Yucca provide to have a discussion, an action item regarding.
A presentation.
Now, is the council going to tell me how I should do things? I want to make a motion for an action item for Reach Out Yucca Valley.
Councilmember Scott, it's not a motion, it's just you're requesting that we add an item to the, right, but it's not voted from the whole council. It's, you get somebody that brings the idea, and then a second, and then it gets added to the agenda.
I understand that. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Second.
So that means we can take off number 10, right? So one item can actually be removed from it? Okay, thank you.
You're not going to be happy to hear how many items I want to add. So at the SCAG conference that I went to, which is the Southern California Authority of Governments, one of the breakout sessions was about affordable housing. And so I met with Jamboree, and they are an affordable housing developer, and I would like to explore a partnership with them. I talked to them a little bit about the project that is, okay, that's it.
Second. Yeah.
Okay.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Explore a partnership with Jamboree for affordable housing.
Okay.
The next one is going to be to explore a partnership with NPHS, which is Neighborhood Partnership Housing Services, for a owner-occupied rehab program.
Second.
And that's it.
Council's all good? All right. Public comments. This is the time for the public to address the city council on issues within the jurisdiction of the city council that is not on this agenda. All comments are being directed by the city council and shall not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional courteous decorum during their comments. There is a time limit of 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out a name and address slips and give it to the city clerk. The city council is prohibited by state law from taking action discussing items not included on the printed agenda. Public comments may be specific. Agenda items will be deferred until consideration on the item on the agenda. Oh, those are the old ones. Carlos? Oh, you good?
Hi, Carlos Blandon. I call this story Coin Setter Pool. Good day, public servants. I want to bring up a situation in your public plaza. A squatter in a brown van has been harassing people in and around vendors at the plaza. This incident occurred on April 26, 2025. We tried to tell this man to leave, but he wanted more than polite words. We had police come and tell this person to go and not be allowed back. But then he seems to ignore the officer's word and arrive again this past weekend on May 10th, 2025. I called the deputies to handle the situation, but to my disbelief, they say they can't do anything as he has not done anything at this point, nor there is no proper signage on the empty desert lot portion in front of the community center, stating any otherwise. This deputy needs to get more situational awareness, as signage is posted at the entrance of the plaza that contradicts this deputy's words. As I told the deputy, the Supreme Court ruled in your favor for public safety. Now that is in my favor, the law does not apply. That is why I urge this council to join the governor of California in setting an ordinance to take back our streets that are clearly displayed or just a simple public notice. I provided an email for the federal notice on camping on public lands in California and Arizona. Our governor is trying to warn us of what will come, especially in these economic dire times. These red states will start shipping their issues to our state or coming here thinking everything is given to them in this golden republic of California. To quote a great American hero, Woody Guthrie, "You ain't got the do-re in me. Why you better go back to beautiful Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Georgia, Tennessee. California is a garden of Eden, a paradise to live in or see. But believe it or not, you won't find it so hot if you ain't got the do-re in me." Thank you.
Thank you. We also received your email. You guys ain't clapping for his presentation? No. Clap for everyone else. Right. Cindy Bernard?
I'm going to go back to trash, but first I just want to say I just looked at social media, and that survey is not on the Instagram, it is not on the Facebook, and it was not in the last email blast.
Yes, it
So if
is.
you're going to do a survey,
It's
you've got to
there.
promote it, or else no one's going to fill it out. As the back row here. I was like, what survey? Anyway, going back to the trash. I think it's clear that the unhoused are not the source of all the trash in town. And there's a huge amount of trash along Highway 62. And so that's what I wanted to talk about. The first thing the visitors see when they come in from the west side of town is the huge amount of trash along Highway 62. And as you probably know, I have 62 frontage, and at 66 years old, I cannot pick up all the trash that's happening along 62. So I have a theory about how this might be happening. Some of it is people driving on 62 throwing things out of their windows, but I think some of it is coming from our residents not bagging their trash before it goes into the trash bins or into dumpsters. So that what happens when we have a high wind incident is Burtec dumps those barrels out, and all that trash just goes and flies out. And I'm picking up Stater Brother bags. I'm picking up just all sorts of stuff all the time on the parcels that are around me, even if I can't always manage that frontage area. So I'm wondering if we can't do some kind of campaign or some kind of suggestion to our residents to please bag their trash before they put it in their trash bins and before they put it in their dumpsters, because that will help with some of the flying trash that's landing all over the city and making us look like a trash heap. It's not a good look to have visitors come to the city, enter off of 62, and both sides of the highway just have, it's in the creosotes, it's just everywhere. So it's just a suggestion if there's something we can do about that, and perhaps we can have a conversation with Burtec to not dump on wind advisory days. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Jane DeFalco?
I just wanted to just bring a little clarification when it comes to the unhoused, and just to remind the council to please understand that there's over 200 unhoused individuals in 29, and you have a very small fraction in Four Corners and behind Stater Brothers that does a lot of the damage or the inconsistencies that you speak about. And I just wanted to just touch base on the HAP grant that I'm very familiarized with. It's broken down in different brackets. Eviction prevention, rapid rehousing, navigation, and outreach. And just a very small amount of that money actually helps the unhoused on the street. So when you look into that in the future, the main ones are navigation, which is facilities and their employees and their staff, rapid rehousing from one house to another, and eviction prevention, like if you need your rent and you don't have it right now. Outreach gets a very small amount. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Garton?
Good evening. My name is Diane Garton. My husband and I live on Split Rock Avenue between Samarkand and Calle Todd. We live in a small subdivision of about 61 houses. We are just west of the Ace Hardware store on Adobe. To access our houses by vehicle, you must drive west from Adobe, either on Calle Todd or Samarkand. There are no other entrances or exits. Last year, on July 14th, you may remember the summer storm that moved a lot of sand in town, flooding 29 Palms Highway and many houses. Several weeks later, another storm moved a lot more sand onto our roads. To my knowledge, no houses suffered flooding in our housing area, but a very large amount of sand was deposited across Samarkand and some onto Calle Todd during those storms. Basically, there were 7 sand dunes strung clear across Samarkand and 2 or 3 onto Calle Todd, creating a driving hazard for the families that live in my area. We watched in awe as the city quickly took great care to clean up the sand off the major streets, followed by a systematic cleanup of other city streets. As you may also remember, these efforts took many weeks. We waited patiently for our turn to come to get our 2 streets cleared off the sand dunes we drove over every time we left our homes or came home. Finally, in September, after seeing no efforts being made by the city to remove the sand dunes on those 2 roads, we came to City Hall to find out what to do. We were told to report our issue online on the city's webpage. We went home that night and we were able to put our concerns onto the city webpage. In the middle of November, after seeing no efforts made by the city to clear our roads, a friend of mine told me to email a Mr. Stacy at the city and things would be taken care of quickly. I have a copy of that email if you want to see it. Finally, in December, some kind soul came and took 2 weekends clearing away the sand dunes from the westbound lanes of Samarkand using his own tractor. To date, there are still 7 sand dunes covering the eastbound lanes of Samarkand. This makes it possible for us to drive in and out of our housing area without driving over sand dunes. However, when we are leaving our housing area, we must drive traveling east on the westbound lanes to avoid the sand dunes on Samarkand. We have watched the elementary school bus for our area drive west on Calle Todd from Adobe, turn south onto Desert Queen, stop at the corner of Castle Drive to pick up children, continue southbound on Desert Queen, then turn left onto Samarkand and drive eastward in the westbound lanes of Samarkand to reach Adobe. This is still the case today. We are requesting that the City of 29 Palms please help us, the citizens in our housing area and our children, have a safer travel to and from our housing area, like you have done for other streets in our city. It's now been 9 months. We want the 7 sand dunes removed from the eastbound lanes of Samarkand between Adobe and Oasis, and the 1 sand dune removed from the eastbound lane of Kaye Todd. We would appreciate your quick attention to these driving hazards. Thank you.
Thank you. City Manager, can you make sure that email gets answered? That's probably the problem.
Isn't there another reason?
Yeah, I mean, we can't talk about it. I'm just saying. The reasoning is
the email regarding to
why that road hasn't been cleaned.
Okay. Yes.
Turtle Rock. That's
Yes.
why. That's that road.
I can look into that. Yes.
And oh man, no, City Manager. Well, Mr. Carlos, did Carlos leave? Oh, we got your email. Just verify we have your email. We all received it. Okay. Then we received the email from a concerned citizen talking about, professionalism on the dais when we're up here and the way we run our meetings and the public's interaction. So we got that email. It doesn't say from who, so I can't give them any credit. So I reported it. Now, the long-awaited City Manager's update.
Very good. We've got some coffee in the back for anyone who needs it. This shouldn't take more than an hour. Kidding. So just a couple of things. I'll be brief. Like I talked about at the last few city council meetings, we've got the strategic plan online. That survey, you just simply go to the main page. You go to the bottom. You look for a strategic plan. You can pull it up. You can pull up some of the documents that were generated as a part of the strategic plan, so that you can be a part of it and understanding what was accomplished during the public meeting that occurred on April 4th, Friday here, and then on Saturday, April 5th, the public workshop. On May 6th, we sent out a Facebook release. There might have been some others, but nonetheless, that strategic plan, that survey is online for the people who were not able to attend on Friday, who were not able to attend on Saturday, and who have not made comments at city council meetings. I wanted to acknowledge a really enjoyable event and really kind of acknowledge and celebrate the creative work that the historic plaza is doing, and all of the business owners, whether it be Jimmy or Paul or Heather, or they had a sidewalk chalk art festival. It was a competition. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of great vendors there, a lot of good food. And then, of course, the animal shelter was there. That was probably one of my favorite parts. And so it was neat to see that community, that partnership. It was neat to see what the historic plaza and their creativity and their intention, their focus have put together there. And then also wanted to thank the animal shelter for the incredible work that they have done. And one of the things, so that day, that Sunday afternoon, was, I thought, interesting and memorable for several reasons. One of which was the animal shelter introduced me to a new young family who just relocated, Marine family, who just relocated from North Carolina. And I got to meet Dom, who is a Marine, and his wife, Michelle. And Michelle has a commanding intellect, and she's got a real expertise in helping create foster programs. And when you take a look at solving the animal shelter problem, really this is a community, for every community that has an animal shelter, it's a community problem. And what is so unique is Michelle has been able to leverage her expertise, and she has rekindled a foster program where it allows people who maybe aren't interested in a permanent commitment with an animal, or maybe who would just like to be that kind of loving support for an animal. It allows them to go volunteer at the shelter, and then they take the dog, typically dogs, maybe cats too, I believe, from the shelter and just love them and socialize them and post pictures on the social media about all of the fun things you're doing. And what it does is it gets the animals out of a difficult environment. A shelter environment is a difficult environment. It gets those animals out of the shelter and it gets them in a loving home where they've got that human interaction, they've got that socialization, and then those animals are ready for adoption at any point whenever someone sees that social media. So I really just wanted to acknowledge the team of people at the animal shelter, their huge hearts and their commitment to serving our four-legged residents, and then also Michelle and Dom and some of the other people that volunteer day in and day out at the shelter. Third thing is I'd like to talk about our emergency preparation. Last year, we were hit with some pretty severe flooding, and it impacted a lot of people. And one of the things that was asked is, what could the community do to better respond? What could the city do to better help the community respond? And so we've been doing a number of things, one of which is Carrie Minitry and her fantastic team over at Parks and Rec. They have put together an emergency preparation event this Saturday at Freedom Plaza. So that's Saturday. It starts at 9 a.m. It goes until 1 p.m. And again, that's May 17th. And you can go there and you can understand the different resources. You can talk to the different vendors, and they can talk to you about, hey, here are some, from sandbags to these are things that you can do to protect your home, to you can go down to Ace Hardware and purchase certain equipment that you can have on hand in the event of you name the disaster, a flood, an earthquake, a fire. And so I would encourage the community to come out to Freedom Plaza this Saturday at 9 a.m. on May 17th in order to get increase your knowledge on emergency preparation. And that is it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Once again, I wish I had a magic wand. We could fix all the problems, but we don't have that. So thank you once again, community, for being respectful and coming here, voicing your opinions and concerns. We all have a goal. We all want to do the right thing, just different ways of doing it. So thank you once again for giving us your ideas and being respectful in everyone's decisions. So thank you. I adjourn this meeting.